I'm here with Max Kouznetsov, a longtime Team Comcast and virtual hockey player. And Max, we're really appreciative for you to take the time, sit down with us, kind of talk about youth hockey, juniors, and now that you're going to be heading off to college, and get a little bit of an idea, kind of how your youth career went over the last 10 years or so, and then got you to where you are today. So with that, let's get into it. Max, give us a little bit of background on yourself, where you started, where you're from, and how you got into the sport.
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me. But I kind of started with my parents. They were both skaters before, and once I moved here, I kind of started playing cross ice at the Voorhees Skate Zone. And as the years went on, obviously, I love the sport, love the game, and I wanted to progress. And the best option for me at the time was Comcast, which was only 20 minutes from my house.
Right.
And it was a top-end program, and we played top-end teams all, 10 years of my career there. So it was a great spot for me and great for me to develop there.
Sure. So you're from the South Jersey area. You have a rink about 5 minutes from your house, and then started at a tier 2 level, and then
Yep.
transferred over to Comcast at tier 1. Is that correct?
Yeah, I played a year of Flyers youth.
Okay. And you said both your parents are skating instructors,
Yeah, yep.
so kind of natural for you to gravitate towards the ice.
Let's just say if I wasn't a good skater, that'd be an issue.
Yeah, I'm sure. So no, that's great. So when you started being in South Jersey, is it safe to say you're a Flyers fan?
Yeah. Yep.
And is there any particular player that you looked up to as a young player starting out to say, man, I really like that guy's game and wanted to
I
model
always
after?
loved I always loved Mike Knuble. I don't know what it was, but I just think it was just always seeing him on TV and how hard he worked. I remember I liked him so much that when he got traded to the Capitals, we went down to a game in Washington, and we actually got to catch up with him after the game, which was pretty cool.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm sure that had to be a great experience and motivating to meet somebody that you grew up idolizing and be
Right.
able to spend some time with him.
Yeah. Luckily for me, even Ovechkin came in the room right after. I got a quick picture with him, and then he left, which will always have that picture in the back of my mind.
Yeah, that's awesome. So for you, starting out at a tier 2 level, transferring to tier 1 at a little bit of a younger age, probably around squirt 10 years, is that correct? Now, did you have a core group of players that you worked with? Because you're a 2000, is that right?
Right.
Right. So you're a 2000. You transfer from tier 2 to tier 1. I'm assuming with a collect group of kids that you kind of started out with.
Yeah, my group, you could say, was Tropea, Blaisher, Peters. I'm trying to think who else. No, he would. Basically, those three, or Samuelson too. Basically, those four were kind of like we transitioned together. Well, Matthias was in the older group, so he left a year early. But those 3 or 4 were kind of the 3, 4 I led to Comcast.
Yeah. And now you went to Comcast as a squirt major player, and if I'm not mistaken, spent what would probably be the next 2, 4, 8 to 10 years there. Spent your entire youth career
Somewhere
for
there.
one
Yeah.
organization.
Elementary, middle school, high school, I played at Comcast, so it was a long career.
Yeah, that's pretty unique. Not very many players, I'm sure, can say that they've done that. That they started in one club, and even as Flyers youth, you can kind of put that under the same umbrella.
Right.
With Comcast sort of being the parent of the AAA club and the feeder program for them. So yeah, not many guys can say they've done that. Let me ask you, like, how did that work out? What was the thought process there? I mean, I know you had some really good teams growing up, so I'm sure that helped for sure. But
basically, in my opinion, at least, every year coming back, it was always we had a core group leading it, and always trusted the coaching staff to bring in guys to do their research, to bring top end guys, whether it's goal scorer setup or grinders, needing the guys to fill. It wasn't really a lineup. It's not like a junior team at that point, but you still need your core players. And in my opinion, every year we made a solid push for playoffs. We won playoffs a few times. We always got to districts. We went to nationals once. It was so many accomplishments in those 8 to 10 years that without the coaching staff, and just that core group, I don't think we could have done that, because even throughout my years, I left just a year early of finishing everything. And some guys even stayed from that squirt major year, like Tropea. He stayed all 9 years or 10 years it was. So
Right.
that core group grew up that whole time. They stayed, but everyone just stayed and thought, yeah, this is the spot. This is the best spot for me to develop. So
Yeah, that's pretty remarkable. You get the right group of guys, both skill wise and on ice wise. But I think that's also a good testament to the character that you had, and that group in particular. You had some kids that kind of came in that would gel and do well, and you had guys that left. But for the most part, like, you had a nucleus there from
right.
7 years old all the way to 18 that kind of stuck it out. And where other teams that doesn't happen. And I think you're in a great situation, an awesome experience to have. So as a player now, if you can, you spend all that time in Comcast, you spend a lot of time in the off season. And I know, because I'm at the rink and I see you probably spend more time on the ice than anybody I've ever seen. What is it that you try to do on the ice that sets you apart from somebody else? Can you kind of hit a little bit on, what makes your game different than somebody else? And then also in that, with all that off ice that you put in, are there things during the off season that you really try to focus on to better your game?
Yeah, I mean, starting with the off ice, I think a couple of years ago was really the kind of eye-opening thing that I should really probably get into the gym and start putting some weight on. Not even like just weight, just muscle and lean muscle. Because I would always, as you said, I'd always be on the ice thanks to my dad. He'd always hook me up with the ice and skate, whether it was just me or guys he would skate with. And I would do off ice here and there, but I never did anything crazy. But I think that right before my first year of 18s, I really thought that it was time for me to just kind of step up in size-wise, because I knew that juniors was going to be a whole different pace, and so was college. Not only just fast-paced, but also guys are bigger, better, stronger. So that was always a key. Something I try to do on the ice to just kind of like, so to say, like if scouts came, just trying to like bunch out from the group, I'd say probably the one thing I take away from my game is my IQ. I think I'm really good at seeing the ice and see the play develop even before the guys in the spot. So even in break defensive zone, like we're running a breakout, I can kind of tell when a defenseman's either going to step up or back up a little bit, so I can buy my winger some time and space for him to also make a play and find the right hole to get a clean breakout or even just get in the zone. So I think always one of my keys would be my hockey IQ.
Yeah, and in a game where now that you're getting at the higher level, you mentioned it, the game's faster, guys are stronger, and in turn they're also going to be smarter hockey players. So the better you can read plays and anticipate, the higher the level of opportunity for success individually on the ice as well. And I think that's phenomenal that you've been able to kind of pick that and then also develop and continue to develop that over your years. In the off season, and you and I have worked together for a long time, growing up, on a skill set side. Have you noticed any particular skills that you have developed over your time as a youth player that have translated, have really helped you at a junior level where the game is faster, there's not as much time, and now preparing for college? For you, one thing that I noticed as a coach, having you on the team, but also individually, you spend a lot of time on release. The importance of finding that area of ice that's, you're going to have the puck for a second, you're going to get it off. Is that something that you have continued to work on? How do you think that's translated for you over your career?
I mean, yeah, for sure. I mean, even when we skate together, we'd always focus on just quick release, or even we took a lot of time getting down the slap shot. I remember back when I was 9 or 10, we took it probably a month just to get that down. But yeah, I think for sure that even this season, I would just stay out after practice or even before practice, just simply just standing still and having a tire in front of me, in front of my blade, and just changing the angle every time, because you never know, the goalie's going to be set up, or even the defenseman's going to try to block every shot when you get the higher level. So it's very important for you to change the angle or change the speed, even if you're going from top speed to slow down, get a little space between you and the defenseman, get a good quick release, whether that's sometimes it's not the best bet just to shoot always top glove. Sometimes it's best to shoot for a rebound for a guy crashing, always set up a play there. And I think another thing actually for me is skating-wise too, because the game is getting faster and is very important. If you don't have a good stance, you're not going to be able to shoot in general. So I think it's important to establish a good stance before even leaning into shooting or working on a quick release.
Right, getting an understanding of that proper balance and
Right.
transfer and how that intertwines with so many different things, from physical contact, passing and shooting, and
Exactly.
skating. If there's anything in particular, like one specific skill set that you said, hey, you know what, looking at a 10-year-old now, would you say, hey, I would, if I could really give you some advice, is there something specific you would have them kind of spend some extra time on? Would it be shooting, stick handling, skating? Do you, in your opinion, do you find any one particular skill to be a little bit more important than the rest?
I think personally, this includes a lot of things, but puck control, because there's a lot of situations where you're either in a corner battle and you got, whether it's one defense or two defenders on you, and you got to make sure that the puck doesn't bobble off your stick or doesn't fly away from you, or catching a pass is soft, or even it could control a good shot. It all contributes to just being like the understanding of controlling a puck and knowing how it balances or how soft you got to control. Because once you keep growing up the years, you get stronger, just maturing wise. So you got to keep working on it, because every year you're going to get a little stronger, a little bigger. So every year is going to adjust for you, knowing how much power to input in your stick, or how much softer you got to catch the puck, or whether it's even catching a pass. You know what I mean? It's always about having the puck on your stick and being able to make a play right as you get it.
No, that's great advice. I think anybody can really grasp at and understand. I mean, at the end of the day, in a game, you only have the puck on your stick, a handful of seconds, right?
Maybe.
So it's really important that they know, when I have that puck, I've got to be able to do something with it. I've got to make a play, and I think that advice is great for kids. So now that we get past the youth hockey here, and you're approaching that junior level, and how do you starting to navigate through that? And I'm sure now that you look back the last couple of years, you're going to say, well, it's not that easy. And there's going to be challenges that come with navigating out of youth hockey, right? It's not, hey, I went to tryouts, I'm all set for the upcoming season with my youth club. These are the 20 guys I'm going to be with. This is the coach I'm going to be with. And, we hit the ice and off we go. Now, juniors, you can start with an entry draft, depending on the league.
Right.
And you've been drafted through some of these leagues. And I'd love to just kind of hear your review now. I think it's been, 2 years of juniors? Is that right?
Right.
Kind of give me your version. How did this happen? And give me some of the trials and tribulations you went through, going all the way back from leaving youth hockey at a draft point, and kind of how that played out.
I could talk about this for hours, but trying to just capture the big thing.
The Cliff Notes?
Yeah. I think the best thing I think I'll take away from junior hockey is, once you come in the first year, at least for college, this is what I'm, in my opinion, or like going into juniors, most guys are coming out of teams where they're top guy or second top guys, or they're always the top end players on their current team, usually the most usual whatever scenario. Coming in the team, those guys expect usually to play, to get the ice time, power play, because they've dealt it for 2-3 years, maybe they've gotten everything. But you come to the juniors and you're coming in as a rookie, basically. You already have guys that's played there 2, 3, maybe even 4 years. With a guy on my team this year, a couple guys that played 4 years for one team, juniors wise. And coming in, you want to fight and earn that power play spot, but you also have to understand that it's all right to sit. Like, it's fine to spend some time watching the other guys, how they develop. That's why it's always good to come in for a good team, and always why juniors have to have a good leadership group, because you're kind of teaching those kids. You're showing that this is how we play here. This is how juniors is going to work. This is the level of hockey, and this is the level you have to be at every single day, and not only just practice, games, workouts, or even in the community, setting that standard. And I think it's very important your first year juniors kind of to take it all in, to see your best players, kind of see what they're doing. And once you get done your rookie year, kind of come back to the second season and say, okay, I'm here. I need to get up here to be at their level or even better to get my Division I commitment if you didn't have it already.
Sure.
Or even just being a top 6 player, because in juniors, the lineup is very important. It's such a key part that in youth hockey is sometimes overlooked, because in youth hockey, it's pay to play. You come to a team, you expect to play. Every parent wants their kid to play, obviously, but you kind of expect the coach to get every kid this equal amount of opportunity just so they develop, which is totally understandable. But once you get to a high level of junior, whether it's a NAHL, USHL, whatever your path is, where it's free to play, not pay to play, but free to play, you always got to look at it where they're investing money not only into you, but the club, where if they're not doing too well standings-wise, they're going to lose fans, they're going to lose revenue. It's almost a business at that point.
Right.
Where if you say you get drafted, right, you make tryout camp, you're still not on a team. You make first tryout camp, which is probably 150 kids, you're still not on a team.
Let me stop you there, Max. So you just hit on a point, right? There's a draft, and
right.
Whether it's the North American League, the USHL, the USPHL, all these leagues have drafts now where hundreds and hundreds of kids are getting picked.
Exactly.
Does that mean anything?
The one thing that it means, Coach, basically your rights in that league or to that team. You can't go to any other team unless you get traded. Other than that, nothing. It doesn't mean anything.
So it doesn't even mean that you made the team?
No.
But let me ask you, now you went through this at 15, 16, 17 years old.
Right.
How important was – and today's one of those days, right? As we talk, the North American League draft is going on today.
Right.
How important was that day to you at that age?
I mean, it was obviously really cool getting drafted and kind of seeing all that, like, stuff on social media and getting texts and calls. But at first I was like, wow, like this, I'm kind of secured probably. And I know they really like me there, but you get to camp and you're just like, you're just another kid. There's plenty of guys just like you that got drafted either before you or after you. Right.
Now, do you think, there's so much pressure on kids now that this draft is so important? Number one, it's in a way to solidify them to maybe play at the next level, but also, you're looking at your peers, your other 2000s, and you say, well, that guy got drafted. I need to get drafted. Or that guy has his commitment. I need to get my commitment. And, do you sense that at that age, if you look back now, you're saying, you know what, I was kind of that way. Like I wanted to be at the same level as some of these other guys. I thought I was, comparable as a player-wise. And then you would have coaches. I mean, I'm sure, like, I can remember us having discussions like, don't put so much stress on it. It's going to work out, right? Every player's path is a little bit different. Right. It's hard for a 15 and a 16-year-old to understand that. I'm assuming, right? Right. Now you're at a point where you're getting ready for college. You can sort of reflect on the last 3 to 4 years of your career. Right. Have you kind of taken a breath and say, wow, you know what, maybe, it didn't mean as much to be drafted. That stress level wasn't necessary. And even in your case, right, you're drafted, what, USHL?
Yeah, USHL, NA, and NCDC.
So drafted in 3 leagues. All right, and let's take a walk through the last 2 years. How many games in the USHL did you play?
0.
All right. So you didn't play in the USHL, but you were drafted.
Right.
You get drafted to the North American League. By who?
Well, first, it's totally off topic. I got tendered to Amarillo, but this past year I got drafted to Johnstown.
So you got tendered by Amarillo, right, and then played there or not played there?
Played 3 games there.
Okay, so and a tender, in your case, basically, for those that don't know, that takes you off the board for the draft. Correct? Right. So they think enough of you that, hey, we're going to tender this kid. We don't want somebody else to come in and get him. But that's kind of solidified. It's a little bit more of a notch under your belt as far as having a better chance to make that team.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Right. So now you tender with Amarillo. You're all set. This is where I'm going to go. And you just said you were there for 3 games.
Yeah, I was there for a month and a half.
So what happens in Amarillo? They let you go? Do they trade you? Is it just, hey, this isn't working out? Where did you go?
It was more of a disagreement between me and the coach. We kind of just didn't see things together, and I knew that it just wasn't going to work out long term.
Yeah.
And it wasn't nothing against them. It was totally fine, but it just didn't work out, and I had to find a new team.
So where'd you go after Amarillo?
I went to Connecticut Junior Rangers in the NCDC.
Okay. So, all right, well, we start in Amarillo. It's not working out. You go to Connecticut, and a little bit closer to home,
Right.
different league completely, different coaching style, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Something that maybe fits your game at that particular time a little bit better.
Right.
You play a lot?
At first, then it kind of slowed down. Towards the end, a lot, yeah.
Yeah. So you rode the wave, let's say,
Right?
You
Exactly.
came in, you got your shot, you did all right. And just like any season, there's going to be peaks and valleys.
Exactly.
But you finished on a high note.
Yep.
Played for a good coach. And to me, like if I'll ask you this, if you didn't get the amount of ice time you got that back end of the season, and I know you played a lot in the playoffs and you did well, opportunity comes back around again, but not with the Rangers.
No.
So where your success to finish the season with the Rangers leads you to where?
Johnstown, Tomahawks.
And that was a draft pick?
Yeah, 10th round.
So you got drafted by a team in the USHL one year. You tendered with Amarillo. You're back up in the draft again with Johnstown in the 10th round.
Yeah.
How'd this season go for you?
Pretty well.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Pretty well. I mean, you were one of the top rookies in the league in points.
Yeah.
Points per game, you're one of the top, 3 on your team, 4 on your team in points. Your team was doing really well. You had a pretty solid squad there.
Right.
And that was the third team to basically draft you or tender you.
Right. Well, before Johnstown, I was protected by Cedar Rapids for a couple. I went to camp too and didn't work out as well also, and then I ended up in Johnstown.
So, you're running this path and you're kind of going all over, right? You've got teams that think they want you, but then it doesn't work out. You go somewhere else. You're on the East Coast. You're in the Midwest. You're back to the East Coast, and you end up in Johnstown. You land somewhere in between.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And, you look at this past year, I'm sure your team probably had some older guys, some veteran presence. You said earlier you had even a guy that is in his 4th year juniors. So you walk in, I'm sure nothing was handed to you, right? No. Hey, Max, here's the first line, first power play unit. It's your team. Run with it. You're still a young guy on the team.
Exactly.
You're a late 2000 to begin with.
Yeah.
And you said earlier, coming in, respecting the guys ahead of you, learning from those guys. So how on that team was it different maybe than from some of the other teams where you have a veteran presence? I'm sure that the culture there had to be a little bit different too than some other teams you were with. So how do you think that helped you as you came in? Basically, you probably came in as a bottom 6 guy. Yeah. You had to make the team. You had to start here, but then you finished on probably a top line.
Yeah.
Like based on stats, I mean, there's no way you put up the numbers you did playing bottom 6.
Right.
So how did that work out for you?
Well, I got to thank first Coach Mike Letizia because he gave me every opportunity that he thought I needed. And it worked out, obviously, but I came in first. It was end of September, right before the Blaine Showcase in Minnesota. And I remember first practice went pretty well. I did fine. My first game was in Wilkes-Barre. First game ever, played on a totally didn't know the kids, just random line. I think I was 3rd line. I wasn't on power play, wasn't on anything, just kind of getting used to it still. And I remember totally just blowing the game, had maybe 15 turnovers, was -2, just terrible game. And in the back of my mind, I was like this is it. Like, I should probably hang him up here. Like, it's probably going to work out. Because the next day I got scratched. And then kind of we went to Blaine and had a talk with Coach Mike. He kind of said, probably understand that you're kind of just adjusting still, a new team, new coaching style, new league, totally different play style of the league. So it's a big curve. And this season actually rocky started to say because we actually played Amarillo my first game in Blaine, and I got blindsided, which wasn't too fun. I had an AC joint sprain. So, again, I was out for another 2 weeks. And then after a few weeks, I was back on the ice. I was on the bike every day, and I went with the team on the road trip to Maine. And that's when I was back in the lineup. But I started on the fourth line, and I remember I was texting my parents, like, listen, like, don't worry about it. Like, I probably won't play much tonight. I'm just going to kind of ease back into things.
Right.
I remember my second shift of the game, I got a goal. The defenseman shot, and I was in front of the net, and I just happened to see the puck right behind the goal. I just tapped it in. One goal, and then I had a assist in the second, 2-on-1 pass. And then the third, we were down 3-2, and it was another 2-on-1. I got a pass to the back door, tied up 3-3. And honestly, just from that game on, right after I was put on the power play, the second power play, and just with every opportunity I got during the year, whether it was a bigger line, bigger role, bigger power play role, I was lucky enough to be able to capitalize and do well in those spots. And towards the end, I was just a first line center where I was kind of, me and coach were just, he could trust me. That's the key. He put me on those important situations, whether it's a minute left in a game or if we need a goal to tie up a game. That level of trust between you and the coach is important. So he knows he'll probably, if I put him out here, he'll get the job done.
Basically. Right. And
so,
I sitting here listening to you talk, there's some key points I want to revisit because I think it gets overlooked a lot with today's player, and not just hockey, I think in any sport, but you came in, you didn't expect anything, right? You said, I came in to learn. I wanted to be a part of something.
Exactly.
And you understood, I'm going to have to buy my time. I'm going to have to be patient, but I'm going to have to work really, really hard. Exactly. And at some point, an opportunity may present itself. Yeah. And it wasn't the first week because the first game you said you were terrible.
Exactly.
And you ended up in the stands for your second game. And then you're hit with an injury, which I'm sure like an injury early on to a new kid on a new team, could it get you out of there? Not even give you a chance to get back in the lineup. It could get you sent somewhere else. But the coach doesn't ship you off. He holds on to you. You work out. You get yourself ready. And then it sounds like a month or so, almost a month into the season, you're on the road and an opportunity presents itself and you're in the right place at the right time, right? You're standing in front of the net, a goal goes in, and then what happens is you get a little bit of confidence. As that game progresses, as the weekend progresses, you start to, give yourself a few more opportunities.
Exactly.
And then you said you earned your coach's trust.
Yeah.
Right? The ability to show that you're dependable. It wasn't just, you didn't walk in, you didn't have one day and here's, the keys to the castle.
Exactly.
Right? You didn't go from making the team to a fourth liner to first line power play right away. Like you had to put your time in.
Right.
And if you look back with all the adversity you faced, whether it be not making the USHL with the team you were drafted with, going to Connecticut, doing well, a cup of coffee in Amarillo. You said it earlier too. You said after the Wilkesburg game, like, maybe I shouldn't be doing this anymore.
Right.
But you didn't quit. You stuck with it. And I think today you see a lot of guys, they hit a little bit of adversity and they shut down.
Right.
Right. And I'm sure players that you've grown up with that have faced adversity and they hung their skates up and they moved on to something else.
Exactly. I'm
just curious, what is it that, whether it's a past experience, is it family support, is it, experiences and coaches you played for? Is there anything in particular you think that you reflect on or maybe has helped you deal with some of that adversity maybe a little bit better than another player?
Right. First, I want to say that I'm so lucky that my parents were athletes, so they've been through adversity, so they could kind of guide me through it and give me that support, which some kids don't even have that, which I don't know what I'd do without my parents. But looking back on it, I just feel like I always knew that over summer even, I knew how much potential I had and how good I looked over summer, in my opinion at least, and how well I did at certain spots and certain teams and roles. I knew that if I were just to give it up looking long term, if I was I was just for fun in college and a junior looking back, I'd definitely be sour in the. I wouldn't. I don't know. I just wouldn't be the same. I'd just be like, I knew I should have stayed. I knew I should have stuck it out. I knew I just played to the most because I knew my junior year I'd be missing hockey, missing the juniors, the road trips, whatever. Even though it was hard at the time, I knew this is like, you know how the saying like the good old times. I knew this was the good old times I'm going to talk about. And if I just gave it away, I'd be like, wow, I really passed up on another year of playing here. Like, it would have been awesome. It would have been so much fun. So just looking back and always being persistent, just keeping my head high, even during when I had my highs, I knew just saying like, listen, like it's not always going to be this way. It's not going to be easy. Like, it just cherishes while you have it. You know what I mean?
Right. So you're 19, right?
Right.
And you're getting ready to go to college. You're going to be heading to Canisius.
Yeah.
And you're going to start your next journey, which I'm sure you can now use past experience and say, well, where are you back at, right? Are you
exactly.
you're that freshman coming in, you're that rookie on the block.
Exactly.
And you can use your previous experiences to know, hey, I got to come in here and I got to start right back down at level 1.
Right.
And work my way up, because you're now competing with, guys in their early 20s that have 4 years of college experience or 3 years of experience. And so, I think at least now you've got some really, really good experiences that you can now reflect on to help as you make this adjustment. Yeah. And then you're going to be taking back on the academic load, which, in juniors, a lot of guys don't usually have.
Yeah.
So, no, that's great. I think, great things are going to come from all your time put on the ice, off the ice, and the support group you had. Let me ask you this. If you look back on it, right, were you 19 when you got your commitment?
Yeah. Yep.
How many guys at 15 and 16 were getting it? A ton?
Yeah. Yeah. A lot.
Right. So there's another piece where a lot of your peers were getting their commitments at 15 and 16. You were not, right? Yeah. You weren't peaking at 15 and 16 either, where other players were. You continue to work at it, and you're 19, you're in your second year of juniors. A school comes calling. It's the right fit for the right player and the right person. And I'm sure at 15 and 16, you're probably saying, well, what the heck? Why, right? Like, why isn't this happening? And again, other guys could have shut down and you didn't. And I think that's a testament to the character you have, the support group that you've been able to build around yourself, which is great. And I'm just curious, like, you look back on it and you see another 15 and 16-year-old player who's entering his first year of midget hockey, and he's doing the comparing. Would you tell him it's okay not to panic yet?
Yeah.
That it can work out?
I mean, you look at so many guys who get their there's a statistic out there. I forget. It was like a picture I saw. It was like the average age to commit is 18, 19. So it's just a matter of time.
Sure. And I'm sure we've seen it, right, where that 15 and 16-year-old gets his commitment and he doesn't end up going to that school anyway, whether it's his choice or the school's choice. And it doesn't work out. I mean, and there's plenty of cases where it does. And at 16, at 18 years old, he's a true freshman and he's walking in on campus and he's playing. But I think your path shows that it's not going to happen right away.
Yeah.
It's not going to be easy. Nothing's going to be handed to you. Right. Go back to earning that coach's trust, earning your spot in the lineup, and then good things will come from it.
Yeah, for sure.
And I look at it, it didn't work out in Amarillo, but it was a great opportunity in Connecticut for you.
Yeah.
Which then provided you a great opportunity in Johnstown, which now is going to provide you a great opportunity to play Division I college.
Exactly.
And, you went through some of those frustrating times, but, as I say, there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you definitely found it. And I think the next 4 years are going to be great for you. You're going to walk in, you're going to have a great opportunity with a great program and a good location, get back to work at school and start your studies up again. But I guess if you looked back, is there any one particular thing, you could really take from this and pass on to the next kid coming up?
My advice to, if it's 15, 10, even my age, I think it's for sure just saying it's not going to come right away. And if it does, just make sure you don't get over yourself and think you're golden. You're going to be in every spot. You're going to be pros next thing you know it, because you're not. Probably most likely you're not, unless you're the next Sidney Crosby. But no, I just think it's very important just to keep working. And it's cliche, but it is true. Just make sure you put it in that off-season time, because that 3 months, 4 months in the off-season can totally change who you are, not only as a player, but also as a person. You work so hard, you just end up getting more and more lucky on the ice. So,
You mean hard work leads to success?
it's funny, but yeah, it's true.
Yeah. Well, Max, I think that's great advice. It's been a pleasure to kind of go back through and look back on your career, and as a coach and a longtime family friend, to kind of reflect and see that with you and watch. I think you were probably about 9 or 10 years old when I met you.
Yeah.
And now you're off to college. And I think I had a full head of hair when I first met you. But it's been exciting to see you grow as a player, even more enjoyable to see you kind of grow into the young man you are. You've always been a pleasure to have on teams, to be around. I expect an awesome next 4 years for you at school, and you should be proud of the accomplishments you have, and look forward to the next stage in your career.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and always thank you for just being there if I need to reach out or advice or anything. So
Absolutely, Max. So we wish you all the best, and that's our look back on Max Kouznetsov's career, both at a youth level, at a junior level, and we'll be watching to see how things progress as you hit college. So, Max, you have a wonderful day, and best of luck at school.
thank you. Yeah.